Hey everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. It is another gorgeous May day, and May in my Zone 6 Mid-Missouri garden means it is planting time, full speed ahead. So here's another video of me planting up some beautiful containers for our garden. I've got a garbage sack in one hand and some scissors. I have these beautiful 14-inch iron hanging baskets. I've got some brand new liners, Coco Coir liners for my basket. And the most important thing to know is I'm going to be planting up in these baskets, hands down, my favorite Proven Winners annuals, and that would be the Super Petunia series. Before I head into the project today and give you a close-up look at these gorgeous summer annuals, I'm going to ask everybody to please like and subscribe to my channel. You know, it's a great way for me to meet more gardeners and learn from gardeners and share some tips and tricks with new gardeners. Okay, before we get to planting up these two hanging baskets, I have to show you what's going in them. Oh my goodness. You're not going to be able to see much color on these, but I hopefully can get in close to the camera. I think I'll come around so that you can at least see the plant tags for what I'm going to be planting in my 14-inch hanging basket. So I am going to combine 3 different colors of Super petunias from Proven Winners. And here's a brand new one on the market this year, and it is called Blue Tiara. You can see a little bit of the flowers there. So Blue Tiara, and then I'm planting with it a pink tiara. So we'll come in, and this is a new one for this year as well. So they've got saturated color on the exterior kind of fringes of the plant, and then they have sort of a white throat, and that gives them sort of a sparkling quality where you have that variegation or gradation from deep pink to really light and almost white in the center. And then the third one I'm going to add to my basket would be the Super Saffron Finch, this lovely yellow. And what's interesting about this flower is it is the opposite of the other two. In other words, it's got a creamy edge and then a dark yellow throat. So I better get this project started. Just wanted to share with you sort of my inspiration for this combination. 2 things. Number one, if you have ever been to Brekenridge, Colorado in the summer and walked up and down their quaint, beautiful downtown, every single street light and intersection is lined with these massive hanging baskets. And of course, Colorado has deliciously beautiful weather in the summer. You know, Brekenridge is, 75 degrees, maybe 80 at the highest, and nice cool mountain breezes. It is just a beautiful, beautiful place to visit and to grow gorgeous flowers like these. So I think if I can find a picture of my last visit there, I think it was from last year, I have some pictures of me in heaven surrounded by all those beautiful baskets. Of course, the other inspiration I get is, talking to other gardeners and following Proven Winners online. And these happen to be plants that I ordered from Proven Winners Direct. I think I published a little short of the delivery day where I got 22 different plants from Proven Winners Direct. You can find Proven Winners plants in most local nurseries, but sometimes certain varieties are hard to find. And I'm a planner, and I'm very particular about what I want to do in terms of color combinations. And so I choose oftentimes to order them from Proven Winners Direct. And you can take a look at one of my shorts that I published, I don't know, a couple weeks ago when they arrived. They've been in my greenhouse waiting for the day to get potted up and put in the landscape. So here we go. Let me show you what's going to happen. I've got this garbage sack because I'm going to cut it in a big square, and then I'm going to line these baskets with it. And why I'm going to do that is because This is very, very porous, and these are going to hang on our back deck, and we're quite windy here in the summer, and this would dry out so fast from the wind and the sun, and I would have to be watering these probably 2 or 3 times a day. And Belle doesn't really like to hand water most things. As you know, I have most of my property on drip irrigation for a good reason. So if I can eliminate having to water 2 and 3 times a day in the heat of the summer, I will. And so I've seen other gardeners take these and line them with, in this case, a garbage sack. But what you want to make sure that you do, just like with any kind of pot that you have outside or hanging basket, you want to make sure you have drainage. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to poke a lot of holes in this garbage sack before I place it in there and fill it up with soil. So that's just what I'm going to get after this first part of the project, and try to get these lined with this plastic garbage sack. I want to make sure it fits down in. Okay, that'll work. I'm going to let it hang over the edge and then I'll trim that off later. But what's important, like I said, I got to poke a bunch of holes in here. So I think I'll just all right, so that's a little fiddly, but I got them in there. I don't know how many holes. I just eyeballed it, but I know that they'll drain nicely. So next step is to fill them with potting soil. So I've got my potting soil in this tub right here. So I'm going to fill it up. So I've got some soil in there. Of course, it's very dry. It's going to settle. So once I get the super petunias in here, I'll backfill and make sure they're all nestled in nicely. Typically, I use Biotone Root Starter, that organic starter fertilizer, in many, many things, all kinds of edibles, as well as some of my planter boxes. But actually, when it comes to flowering annuals, I prefer to put this slow release fertilizer in. This is the Proven Winners brand. I order this online. It's the premium continuous release plant food, and it's a 15-7-15 kind of fertilizer, and it works really, really great. They sell it specifically for flowering plants, and it's a granular. So you can see here, it's got a little scoop. I don't pay attention to how much. You can read what it says. I'm going to put, you know, a couple of scoops in each. This is going to feed my petunias for several months. It is heat activated, so as our summer warms up, this fertilizer will really go to work. However, this is so important when you're growing things like these super petunias that put on massive amounts of blooms, and that is, I want you to really get in the habit of fertilizing your flowering annuals on a weekly basis, if not every other week. And the way that you can do that is to use a water-soluble granular that you mix with your water. And for me, the way that I remember to fertilize pretty much everything, especially annuals, is I call it Fertilizer Friday. So every Friday I mix up that concoction, just follow the package directions, and I give them that liquid fertilizer that's diluted with water. So instead of the regular watering that I would do daily in the summer, every Friday they get a shot of food. It is essential for them to pump out blooms. Now, you don't have to. If you forget, this will kind of help be a nice backup. But I did an experiment, was it 2 years ago, where I grew a petunia Vista series, the ones that get 3 foot wide. I grew 3 pots of those, the Paradise variety, and 2 of the pots I fertilized every Friday with the water soluble, and 1 I didn't. And I did that for about a month to 6 weeks, and then I was able to show the one that I didn't fertilize weekly. It still did okay, but the 2 other ones that I faithfully fertilized every Friday, there was a tremendous difference. And I don't know if I can find those pictures in my computer or not. If I can, I'll certainly try to put them on the screen for you all so you can see that it absolutely is worth it to fertilize your flowering annuals weekly, if not every other week, because they need lots of food to pump out those gorgeous flowers all season long. All right, so in the planter they go. Now this is a 14-inch wide hanging basket. I'm only going to plant 3 of these because they get enormous. They're going to get probably 2 foot in diameter each at least. And so I don't need to pack it full like you see a lot of those other YouTube content creators. They will just cram their containers full of these proven winners petunias, and it is not necessary. They do that often because they have deals with proven winners. They get hundreds and hundreds of proven winner plants delivered to them to showcase on their channel, which is great. They've given me loads of inspiration, but it really isn't necessary. If you want massive impact within a couple of weeks, then of course you want to cram them in. But the beauty of gardening for me is to start small and then see the evolution over time. And truly, the other thing to consider is if you pack your containers too full at the beginning of the season, by midway through your summer, all that you're going to have are a mass of roots in there and very little soil left to feed them. And so what you're going to really have to do at that point, midway through the season, is water, and fertilize, because there's not going to be hardly any nutrients left in that original soil. So I prefer to just plant a few in my hanging baskets rather than pack them full. They will be overflowing, and you probably won't even see the basket by midsummer. All right, so that's my encouragement, because these plants aren't cheap. We don't all have a greenhouse cram full of 200 proven winter plants to play with. So so don't feel like you have to. And in fact, the Vista series, which I'll be showing you later in the summer, that I'll be planting out in the landscape, the Petunia Vista series, they get 3 and 4 feet in diameter. And when I grow them in my hanging baskets, I'll only put 1 right in the center. It will cover the entire basket by midsummer. So again, don't feel like you need to cram a bunch of flowers in 1 basket, because it really isn't necessary, and it's rather expensive to do it that way. All right, enough of my lecturing about planting up too many flowers. So I'm just going to get to it. The other thing you always hear me recommend is that before you plant up anything that's been in a container, you want to make sure you've watered it in. You don't want to be putting a bone dry plant into bone dry soil. And you can see, if I get the camera in, these are nice and moist. I'm going to kind of lean them a little bit, pushing out to the edges so that they'll start draping over. They'll get 8-10 inches tall, maybe even 12 inches tall, but then they're really going to spread. So the only thing I need to do on this one is just backfill it with more potting soil. All right, now that I've got them filled, I'm going to take my scissors and trim off the excess. so that it's not showing. Don't really have to worry about a little bit of it showing initially because, as you know, proven winners, petunias, especially their super petunias, get enormous, and you will never see the little telltale signs of this garbage sack. So I am not too worried about a little bit of it peeking out at this point. It is going to get covered up. Same on this one. Okay. Again, this one shifted just a tiny bit. All right. Okay, so they are all potted up. You notice I chose to pot them up in my little sled, which you've seen me use a lot of times in videos. I like to do that, one, for catching excess soil that I can then dump back in and reuse, but also I've got to take these onto my back deck. And so I'm going to hook it up to my scooter and gently take them over there. I'm going to hang them up where they're going to go. I'll take you along for that. Water them in and then just wait for them to grow into purples and pinks and yellows. It's just going to be a spectacular summer arrangement. Well, I have the two hanging baskets in place here on our back deck. This happens to face east. However, in midday we get sun as well. So these will get about 6 hours of good sun a day, but they're protected in the hottest part of the late afternoon sun in the middle of summer, and they have just done beautifully here. I've been growing super petunias on the back deck for many, many years. If you can only buy one flowering annual this year and you have a sunny spot, I cannot encourage you enough to get your hands on some proven winner super petunias. Go on their website, learn more about the plants. They have them in different sizes and many different colors to choose from. I am just delighted to get these here, and hopefully our Baltimore Orioles that have been visiting and our Hummers will like them just as much as we do. So until next time, I wish you all happy gardening.